So meanwhile, I'll just introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is Dr. Nareshkumar D. Harale. He's a Vice President and Vertical Head at Cybersecurity, Reserve Bank Information Technology. Dr. Harale is currently working as a Vice President and Head Cybersecurity Vertical at Reserve Bank of Information Technology. Dr. Nareshkumar has more than 23 years of rich progressive experience in information risk management, IT infrastructure security. Dr. Harale has built and managed high-performance specified skilled projects as well as operational teams across IT security, information security, data privacy, cyber security, etc. Prior to joining Rebit, Dr. Harale was the head information security at GRC and CISO at IDBI in Tech, and has handled various roles across leading BFSI and non-BFSI entities such as IDBI Bank Intech, IDBI subsidiaries, DBS Bank, UBI Bank, NSE, SIFI Technologies, and LIC companies. He has been awarded as India's top 100 CISO 2021 and 2022 IT security influencers and community contributors by CISO platform. Please put your hands together, everyone, for Dr. Nareshkumar Harale.
Very good morning. Yeah. Thank you so much, UBS Forum, for giving me an opportunity to share my experience. As a disclaimer, I'm not going to share any very specific thing with respect to Reserve Bank and so on. So I'll be sharing my experience, my understanding about this topic. So the title of this session is Fortifying Data Center Security, a Strategic Approach to Resilient Protection. So very specifically, as far as data center is concerned, I think it is the master component in the holistic IT infrastructure. If you look at any organizations which is very much reliant on the data center operation. So when it comes to the data center operations, it is very important to ensure that all the data center components as well as the data center operation is safe and secure. So this is a small outline which I tried to prepare so that I can set the context, and I will try to provide the basic understanding about data center security, which is a requirement from compliance and resilience perspective. So these are the two topics, these are the two takeaways I am expecting at the end of this session. So to start with, so top reasons for cyber breaches and data disclosure. So I think it is pretty much, vigilance, all these, topics are very much common and it is widely available in the public domain, right? So why these are important topics? So we are focusing, so security is required for protecting the information asset, which is typically when it comes to the enterprises or business, they rely on the data center. So hosting service providers, right? So when they are hosting their infrastructure applications as a part of data center, it is very much important to provide the sufficient safety and security. So breaches, it links to our data, which is very much available in the data centers, either on-site, on-premise, off-premise, and so on. So typically, breaches involve a human element, which is typically 85%. 61% of breaches involve credentials. So most of the times we are using the common credentials, or one password used across multiple locations. Most of the times, password sharing happens across the support teams. So that is the second reason. Third is non-DOS incident involved ransomware. So this is typically happens because of awareness issues, right? So it is nothing new, but it is very important for the enterprises to ensure sufficient cyber hygiene is implemented for all the employees. So 13% is more about the non-DOS incident involved ransomware. 3% of breaches involve vulnerability exploitation. I just tried to put a couple of examples here, which are very recent, right? So industry is evolving, your landscape is evolving in terms of technology adoptions, lot of new tools, technology components are getting integrated, deployed in the data center, across branches, across campus. So it is very important to have a very safe and secure integration ecosystem. So the recent example, we all of you must have seen that Palo Alto is one of the example where PAN OS was vulnerable. It's a 0-day, typical 0-day. So today it happens to PAN OS, or it may happen to any other component. It is nothing to do a very specific OEM or service provider. So my point over here is that we should be continuously vigilant. What is happening in the market, what is happening in the industry. So we should be updated, and every employee, that's where the awareness comes into picture. How fast you are reacting to the various kind of 0-day attacks. So response time is very, very important, because when 0-day comes, when a critical vulnerability gets released in the network, so it is very important to identify the applicability of a vulnerability. If you don't confirm whether this particular vulnerability is applicable to my data center, 1 location, 2 location, 3 locations, so we cannot fix the issue. So applicability check is very, very important, which is normally not proactively taken care. So we know that every organization has sufficient set of people who are manned with the help of security operations center, network operations center, but end of day, the response time and the resolution time is not up to the mark. That's my observation. So you may having a different opinion about it. It is not applicable to every service provider or every organization, but these are the facts. So one more 0-day, there was Avanti RC, again remote code execution. So these are some of the examples I just want to bring awareness. Another important, what are the various drivers of security, right? So in terms of data, so I'm just trying to link all the contents to the data center security aspect of it. So why data center security is important? Lot of disruptive technologies are getting introduced into the market, and every infrastructure service provider, managed security service provider, or managed services provider, they are offering the solutions which has adoption of newer technologies and the emerging technologies. So hence it is important to know that. So why disruptive technologies are important? So today we are talking about AI. Everybody is talking about AI. So we are adopting the AI as a technology, emerging technology. But what is the impact? Why we need to adopt the newer technologies? What will happen if we don't adopt the newer technologies or emerging technologies? Right? So we have to flow with the stream. Another example, we can look at the fintechs. Why fintechs are there? Why existing organizations not capable to build the innovative products? So innovation is the key to it, key aspect of the emerging technologies. So these are disrupting to the market, same time they are bringing some values to the table. So hence disruptive technologies will be there. We have to adopt in a way we keep our environment safe and secure, right? So disruption will always be there in the market or in the industry. So newer technology that significantly changes the way an existing market or industry operate. So typically, recently there are some of the examples I will share ahead. So again, these two aspects, one from Gartner, so this is again a public information, but I am trying to pinpoint certain aspect of where we are heading, where data center is heading. So earlier we used to talk about the standalone systems, right? Dhingraji was saying about nobody is there to clean my servers, right? Somebody is doing on behalf of him, right? So that is what is happening. Is the cloud trend, right? We cannot afford. So there are various drivers to go for clouds. It is not about just the cost, right? The scale and the efficiency and the go-to-market kind of strategy. We need cloud kind of environments, and that is where the cloud is getting the popularity. So I'm just trying to pinpoint certain aspect of this slide, Gartner. So typically we are moving from the physical servers to virtuals to platforms, serverless computing, right? So today's world is again morely driven through the microservices and API security, because the ecosystem is more and more open. Multiple organizations are connecting, enterprises are connecting, fintechs are getting together, to support the ecosystem. So as a result of it, they are also exposing various vulnerabilities within the network, and that's where organizations, being the owner or accountable for managing the security of an organization, they need to look at various aspects of 360 view of adopting the emerging technologies or bringing a new component which is driven by fintech. So there are again two aspects to it. So far we used to talk about fintech. But apart from fintech, there are a lot of emerging technologies also getting developed. So now slowly this particular domain is divided into two parts. One is the fintech, which is typically focused on the fintech organizations, and second is the emerging technologies. So MTech and fintech, these are the two, going forward, these are the two aspects going to come out in terms of regulations and the governance. So Hype Cycle is also talking about the Gen AI. Every product, every application, every aspect of the IT is talking about AI, ML. So now at the hype level, at the highest level, so it may go down after some time. That's totally depends on the maturity and adoption of the AI, ML kind of technologies. So definitely next 4-5 years it will be there, and there are newer applications, newer products, newer technologies will be adopting these features on ongoing basis. Now how the working environment is changing. So earlier we used to sit inside the premises. Now we are completely relying on the employees. Then we merge employees and the third party service provider augmented as a part of same team. Slowly the entire scenario changed from physical to virtual, and that's where we have to manage identities in a very effective and efficient manner. Again, one more driver. So when we started the boom in the industry, so why data centers, why so many data centers are coming, why so many cloud setup organizations are coming up, what is the reason for that? I think we started the journey almost 10 years back. So with these three important dates, I just want to, maybe I'm sure everybody is aware about these dates. So first date is talked about Jan Dhan Yojana, second date is talks about demonetization, third date is COVID. So all these are the very important dates which actually transform the entire IT industry. And slowly fintech. So fintech industry is growing. Of course, digital banking, BFSI sector is also growing. The role of fintech is very crucial in terms of digital landscape. They are bringing lot of values, lot of ecosystem they are bringing to a table. So digital payments, digital lending, and so on. There are so many things. So I don't want to focus on this. So my aspect is what is again driving for the data centers. Why so many public clouds, right, coming up, hosting service providers are coming up, but security is integral component of it. So when fintechs are coming into the mainstream, then it is very important to have a proper supervision and control over the fintechs, because they are bringing values to the table. But while bringing the values, what risk they are also bringing to a table, that needs to be identified, and sufficient risk management needs to be taken care. So a few important dates, I think this is again a public information. So driver for again data center and the security requirements. So one of them is BFSI community cloud. It is not created. So this is, recently, I think end of December, RBI announced that there will be a community cloud. What is that all about? So community cloud is built for, it is not for sovereignty, it is built for efficiency and scale. Because smaller cooperative banks and the smaller banks, they are not affording to have a dedicated setups. That's where they want to set up a very specific purpose. It has some specific purpose to deliver the services through the cloud, but it will be a very controlled and regulated. So 𝗙𝗏𝗃 is going to drive that. So I think that is publicly available in this. So I have given link also. Another important driver is CBDC. You have seen that CBDC is already adoption is in the pilot phase. The governor of RBI has already announced what is going to happen with the CBDC, how it is different from the normal channels, how this CBDC channel is different than existing your ecosystem or the payment systems, that is clearly mentioned. So this is also driving your infrastructure and the data center security, because it requires a huge compute. It requires emerging technologies like the platforms, OpenShift, Tanzu, and so many. This is a similar kind of technologies, and that requires skill set is one of the important aspect. We cannot afford, small organizations, fintech, mtechs cannot afford this because they rely on the cloud. When they develop any critical products or crucial products, they are bringing lot of data to the cloud. So cloud data security is another aspect. I'll talk about it in the next slide. So these are the references for you to consider why data center security is important, right? When we say data centers, so mostly we are talking about the public cloud or the private cloud, space and cooling. So there are different ways of handling it. So this is again disruptive technologies, business impact that will revolutionize the banking. This is typically more from the banking side. Yeah. Another important driving factor is for the data center is lot of application development. Every organization, every small, big organization is developing the applications, and so mostly the mobile driven. So this is one of the important factor we need to understand. So there are over 11 million. So this is typically, it's a old data. So you'll find the numbers growing exponentially. So we are in a app driven economy completely. So this is because of digital transformation, adoption of IT, application development, mobile applications. So this is happening. So according to Statista digital economy, CAGR is at 37%, growing from 1.3 trillion in 2016 to, this is the old data, okay. Now these are the 4 aspects I am trying to cover quickly. Because of data, in the previous sessions you have already seen that data is a fuel. So you have to, a lot of data is getting generated through social media. There are various, IoT is there. There are multiple factors. So exponential growth in the data in terms of, with rapid changing customer requirements, because requirements are continuously changing. Customer wants something in a very fast manner. So to meet that requirement, you need a ready workload, hardware or software, and the cloud is the only option. So when it comes to a cloud, data center hosting environments are the preferred locations. So data center security is very important from that perspective. So ever evolving cyber threat landscape, it is absolutely ransomware. So there are typically, in the couple of the previous sessions they have covered this. One more important, I would like to highlight more from the resiliency perspective. So data center, so we are more talking from the cyber security perspective, or data center security more from the CIA perspective. But moving further, resiliency is the requirement. So when we are setting up any business with the help of data centers, public clouds, it is very important to have the sufficient availability against the cyber attacks. Right? So you are setting up the sufficient infrastructure. In spite of attacks, your operation will continue to run from the data centers. So that is all about the resiliency. Another important aspect we need to consider, so even data center service provider or the organizations, they need to look at the trends which is happening from the cyber attacks perspective. So insider attacks are the growing, this is a category which is in the growing phase. So typically 60% of cyber attacks are carried out by the insiders. So what is the missing piece? What is the important aspect of the overall data center or cyber security or cyber resiliency? So human is the weakest link. So if you want to really protect your infrastructure, you have to educate your workforce in a very continuous manner. So information security hygiene, cyber hygiene should be taken care in a very different way. You should have a customized training programs, because one day cannot be understood by all the employees. So you should have a education at various levels with the help of different training partners. So second point is 90% of organizations feels exposed to the insider threats, and 56% of insider threats are caused by employees. So employees, in the whole scenario, employee is the crucial, important aspect in the overall cyber security and cyber resiliency. I will touch base this particular area. There is a framework, 2 minutes. There is a framework, something called as a BIS, CRA. I think we should start adopting the resiliency frameworks than the cyber security frameworks. So CSF is anyways 2.0 version is already adopted, which is applicable to data centers. We should make sure that all the controls, cyber security controls are available in the data center and weighted by independent certain empaneled vendors who has capability and skills to validate it. So these are the various domains, 10 domains, which has 296 controls, and typically which is taken in line with the ISMS, COBIT, CSF, SWIFT, CSP. There are multiple controls, CSF. So we need to look at this. And this is again typically situational awareness is something different than your user awareness. So situational awareness is about knowing or making sure that each and every person who is a part of organization handling the operation, data center operation, they are aware about the entire ecosystem and happenings around it, right? A lot of monitoring happens in the data center with the help of NOC, SOC and so on. Important slide, data security aspects. So governance is driven through the policy. Second, the first step, right? So we should know that what I am going to protect, irrespective of the data center or service provider or the enterprise. So policy is important, you have to define the policy. Second is you need to identify all the components which are lying around the, so whether, see most of the times data is stored in the local network, some data is stored in the public cloud, some data is in the other. So you need to identify all the assets and the data points which needs to be protected. And along with that we need to classify. So you have to classify all the, as a part of data security policy, we need to classify all the components of data security, and you have to classify the documents and the data points, whether it is internal, insider. So classification is the important aspect. Protection, you have to put the key management services, identity, governance around it. Compliance is another. So there are various standards. So typically you need to follow, and you should have a very strong response plan. So response is, that's what in the first slide only I mentioned that. So response is the typical important aspect in the whole data center. Whether it is the IT incidents or the cyber security incidents, we should have a very sound prepared plan, and that's where the adoption of 27, I will just go to that slide. So these are some of the emerging technologies. So these are the transitions from 2013 to 22. So we should adopt, most of the data centers are still on 2013. So we have to immediately transition to 2022. So there are 12 areas they have enhanced in terms of secure coding, threat intel, right? Physical security monitoring. So physical security and digital security both are important aspects from the data center infrastructure security perspective. So these are the various programs I think we should run across the data centers so that we can have a sound ecosystems. We will have the full visibility of cyber security controls, processes and data related to it. We can drive it better. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. May I request Mr. Jagat Ram to kindly join us on the stage to present this small token of gratitude to Dr. Harale. And now we'll take a short tea break, requesting everyone to please resume back in 10 minutes and help us to keep this conference on time. Thank you. Please enjoy your break.